You awaken slowly, though awaken isn't quite the right word. Your chest tightens, breath shallow, not with sleep, but with sudden, disorienting cold. The air feels hollow and brittle, as if the world around you has lost all warmth. You lie there, utterly still at first, waiting to remember where you are, and then the truth settles in like an iron glove. You're not in your bed, you're not in your time, you're somewhere profoundly 1860, and already the day's cruelty has begun. Your eyes open onto a ceiling unfamiliar and low. The pillow beneath your head is heavy, scratchy, maybe straw-stuffed. The smell hits you almost at once. Musty, old cloth, damp wood, faint mold. You swallow. Your lips are dry from the cold, even in the dim light. When you sit up, your back jolts, sharp and aching, as though each vertebra has shifted out of place. The room is small, narrow, with high ceilings that seem to press you down. It's dark, but not pitch black, just a gray illumination trickling in. You follow the drift of pale light to a pair of thin curtains that obscure a small window. Outside, the world is dim, heavy with smoke and mist. You can almost hear the soot of London. Then something grotesque catches your eye, the wallpaper, a vibrant emerald green, gorgeous if you look fast, but because you know, you remember reading about it. Older homes in Victorian London were often papered in that toxic shade, Darsenic, laced pigment, leaves of green curling across the walls, and you're inhaling it. Already, your heart thuds. You want to reach for your phone, a reflex. But there is no phone, no modern sanity, only straw, thin curtains, and that wallpaper. A soft knock at the door startles you. The voice beyond it is crisp, respectful. "Miss, are you awake?" You hear the door open, and a girl steps in, barely older than childhood. Her dress is plain gray with a stiff white apron. A cap frames her face. She curtsies. "Please, miss, your mother expects you downstairs soon." Your mouth moves before your mind finds words. "Yes, Martha." The name forms effortlessly. You don't know why, but you know she's called Martha. You say it politely, automatically. Martha nods and sets about gathering a polished ceramic basin and pitcher in the corner of the room. She places them near the open window. Of course, there's no bathroom, no plumbing. Only that basin to wash your face. You stare, dumbstruck. The realization sinks. This is your life now. No modern conveniences. Nothing soft. Martha pours water into the basin. You were expecting maybe warm water soap, but no. The water's icy. She produces a small vial of rose water and adds just a drip. "As you prefer," she says softly. You've never preferred rose water in your life, but you accept it anyway. You understand the routine. You are expected to know it now instinctively. You stand, stepping toward the basin in uncertain rhythm. Your body moves like an actor reading a script you don't remember learning. The cloth Martha hands you is damp and cold. You hesitate, then dab at your neck and face. With each touch, the cold bites deeper. Your breath hitches. You shiver. You can almost feel the threat, not of dramatic danger, but of subtle, creeping death. In this time, without antibiotics, a chill in the lungs could kill. Martha murmurs, "I'll stoke the fire." You hear a quiet scrape of wood. The fireplace was already lit, just enough coals to glow, not enough to warm. But now the flames catch slowly, fitfully. You stand for a moment, airing your skin to dying heat, watching the small blaze flicker. At your shoulder, Martha says, "Shall we begin your toilet?" Her formality twists the word into something colder. You look vaguely down at yourself, dragged from bed, unwashed hair, skin already flushed from shock. You can't hide the tremor in your hands, but there is no room for protest. She sets aside your nightcap and begins unpinning your hair. It spills long and heavy, oily. You remember, Victorian women seldom washed their hair. Washing was thought exhausting, destructive. Instead, they brushed it, 100 strokes nightly, to distribute oils. Your scalp itches in pure reflex. Martha produces a stiff brush. You taste iron in your mouth as you brace yourself. She begins brushing, slow, even strokes, counting almost silently. Each stroke stings. Your scalp reddens at 40 brush strokes. A tear threatens. You swallow, blink, refrain. The ritual continues. By 70 strokes, your arms ache, your scalp raw. At 100, you feel your composure shatter, and somehow you sit perfectly still. When it's done, she sets the brush aside. You feel the weight of your hair fall across your shoulders like chains, not your own. Your reflection in the small cracked mirror shows dark hair, shining with oil, pale skin, ringing of distress, and eyes dull from grief of self. Now, Miss, Martha says, hands already preparing the next step. You hold your breath as she applies powder, lead, based, white, meant to create that coveted pale complexion. The fine dust settles on your cheeks. You breathe it in. It coats your lungs. You taste metal. Then she sets a small dropper before you. Belladonna eye drops. Dilate the pupils. Make your eyes seem large and dreamy. Toxic, blindness, risk. She tilts your head and you close your eyes as she places 1 drop per eye. The sting is immediate, tear, warm and sharp. You blink once, twice, you swallow, and you do not faint. You hear your own voice, not weak, not strong, just calm, thank you. Even though everything inside you feels unglued, at this point you're officially dressed in your own distress. You stand there as Martha begins dressing you in layers. First a fine cotton chemise, stiff from starch. Then petticoats, 3, 4. They rustle and cling to your legs as they settle. Then a crinoline cage, wire hoops sewn into fabric to create a bell shape. You step into your gown, deep blue, linen trimmed with lace, long sleeves, high neck. It takes practically another pair of hands to settle the weight across your body. As Martha fastens the corset around your waist, pain flares again. She laces you tight, you gasp. The boning carves into your ribs. Your lungs feel compressed, but you remain upright, chin lifted, breathing shallow and measured. She clasps lace collars around your neck, adjusts gloves, slides boots over your feet. You stand fragile, practiced, breath barely rising and falling. And then you glimpse yourself in the full-length mirror, arsenic, pale skin, tight waist, glossy hair. The image is terrifying. You're beautiful, but at terrifying cost. Hollow, you take a slow breath. I feel a little faint. You whisper. Martha smiles innocently. That is perfectly normal for a lady, miss. A delicate constitution is quite becoming. You almost want to laugh, but it would seem ungrateful. Delicate, fainting as style, illness as ornament, utter madness, time is tight. Your mother watches watchfully. It's time for breakfast downstairs. You obey. The stairs are narrow, carpeted, and you move as if leaden. The petticoats rustle. Your corset pulls you upright. Each step is calculated. You reach the bottom step and steady yourself on the banister. The air is warmer here. Tea steam, toast smell, but not warm enough to thaw you. You enter the dining room. Candlelight dances across floorboards that shine from constant polish. Your mother sits at the head of the table. She smiles at your entrance, but her eyes assess you, always assess. The spread before her is hearty. Sausages, eggs, kippers, thick slices of bread. But your plate is already portioned. A single poached egg, half a piece of dry toast, and a cup of weak tea. You swallow carefully. The food is bland, deliberately so. Overeat and risk swooning, or worse, being labeled unladylike. Midway through your sore, trembling sip of tea, your mother speaks of the upcoming dinner with the Blackwoods. Mr. Blackwood will be present, Edward's mother assures. You nearly choke, but manage to nod, of course. This is not your life. This is a negotiation in silence. Your ascent is practiced, trained, enforced. You swallow, tasting ash and resignation. Breakfast concludes. Conversation remains surface. Your brother's studies, your father's firm, the weather, polite, reserved, nothing you truly care about, but you must appear interested. That is your role. After breakfast, you are summoned to assist in a linen inventory. Martha leads you to a narrow door behind the vestibule. Inside, shelves grown under pale white linens, sheets, pillowcases, napkins, handkerchiefs. White, symbolic of purity and propriety in a world consumed by soot and coal. But keeping white linens in London is an endless battle. You touch a pillowcase, its coarse, the fabric grit, laden. You imagine the child in the scullery boiling linens all day. She is maybe 14, her arms red, skin scarred, strength unrelenting, her lungs clouded by steam and coal. You're only coasting here, pretending she works. After the inspection, your mother moves you to the drawing room. You walk corridor long, posture maintained, gloves perfect. Boots tap against the polished wood. The drawing room smells of lavender and candle wax. Furniture stiff and upright. Embroidery cushions arranged neatly on each seat. Your mother already sitting, needlework in hand, spine erect. You take your place beside her, needle in hand, but don't know what pattern you're to work. You realize it doesn't matter. The point is to sit, to perform for the inspection later. Your hands feel numb, your stomach murmurs, hunger gone quiet. You follow the pattern she chooses, roses stitched in symmetrical rows. Your fingers sting from cold. You push thread through fabric again and again until your senses blur into rhythmic rhythm. 1 hour passes, 100 tiny roses formed by practiced needling. Your mother glances at your work and nods. Approval already given. You're steady, quiet, controlled. Finally, you're allowed a break, a walk. The fresh air calls. You don gloves. You take a parasol. Your posture is straight as a rod. You follow your mother at measured pace. Conversation stays light. Whether the pollen, fine ribbons available on Bond Street. You note, never look too long at men. Never speak unless necessary. Never draw attention. Your mother's voice is soft but firm. A lady's reputation is her currency, Margaret. The weight of that sentence settles deep. Reputation, fragile. One slip and your value evaporates. Forever, the air outside is cold, but London always smells of smoke, coal, bread, hopes. Knees ache beneath stiff skirts. Your waist strains, but you remain upright. You cannot do otherwise. You return from the walk half, numb, not just from the air, but from the restraint you've been laced into since the moment your eyes open. The corset presses against your ribs with every step, your breath tight, your muscles taut like piano wires beneath silk. You no longer question the discomfort, you've begun to accept it as simply. The background noise of being, back in the front hall, the moment you remove your gloves and parasol, you hear the sharp ticking of the long case clock. Noon. The day has only just begun, but already you feel weary, the kind of weariness that isn't physical, but planted somewhere in the marrow. Martha awaits you upstairs. She curtsies when you enter your room again. There's already a gown laid across the bed, something slightly more refined than the walking dress, but still modest, a calling dress, she explains. Because this afternoon you will be paying visits, a series of polite, shallow exchanges with other women in parlors across town, calling cards, compliments, eyelash, thin smiles. You hesitate by the bed. The thought of changing again is exhausting, but this is what's expected. There are unspoken rules etched into every hour of a Victorian day, and women, especially unmarried ones, are expected to walk the tightrope of etiquette without faltering. Even the act of changing your clothing is a form of submission to the rhythm of society. You begin again. Martha helps you out of the walking dress, layer by layer, revealing the corset that remains strapped to your aching body. She loosens it only slightly, not enough to breathe freely, but just enough to let the afternoon fabric drape more softly. Then the new dress, light gray, high-necked, buttons all the way to the chin with long sleeves that hug your wrists. A simple brooch fastens at your collarbone, and your hair is redone into a coiled bun, adorned with a single ribbon. As Martha finishes, she steps back to admire her work. "You look quite elegant, miss." You nod, managing a small smile. But inside, the ache remains. Your mother calls from below. The carriage is waiting. The streets outside are choked with fog and the constant clatter of hooves. Your gloved hand steadies you against the doorframe as you climb into the carriage, a black lacquered thing that rocks with every cobblestone. Your mother sits opposite, already correcting your posture with a glance. You straighten. "Today's visits must go well," she says, as if this weren't already stitched into your soul. "Mrs. Alderton is particularly important, and remember, no political talk, no coughing." Smile modestly. You nod again. You've learned to conserve your voice. Words are currency here, and silence often costs less. The carriage lurches forward, and London unfolds around you like a painting in motion. Tall brick buildings, chimney smoke curling above rooftops. Coal dust settles on everything. You see children barefoot in the streets, chasing wheels or selling newspapers. You wonder if they've eaten today. The carriage stops in front of a tall, elegant townhouse with polished steps and wrought iron railings. You disembark carefully, clutching your skirts, and follow your mother inside. The door opens to reveal a drawing room filled with floral upholstery, delicate china, and the faint smell of violet perfume. Mrs. Alderton is already seated. She rises to greet you with practiced grace, her corset even tighter than yours, if such a thing is possible. Her smile doesn't quite reach her eyes. The exchange begins. Tea is poured but barely touched. Conversation floats delicately between safe subjects, whether a new soprano at the opera, a cousin's engagement. Everything is said with a kind of polite detachment, as though real feeling would be indecent. You offer compliments at the right moments. You nod at everything. You keep your hands in your lap, your back straight, your voice soft, and yet beneath it all there is calculation. Every word, every glance, every gesture is measured. You realize that these women are not merely talking. They are fencing with fans and phrases, testing, prodding, judging. You are on display. Everything you are is a prospectus for marriage. The visit ends after precisely 27 minutes. You hand over your calling card, which has your name printed in elegant script on creamy cardstock. You and your mother offer thanks. You exit. Another carriage ride, another visit, another parlor, this one stuffier, the hostess older and less refined. More tea, more talk. A young man enters midway. A son, perhaps. You avert your eyes just long enough to seem proper but not indifferent. He says nothing, only bows. By the third visit, your neck aches from the rigid posture. You haven't had a drink of water in hours. You feel the corset begin to bruise the tender space between your lower ribs and stomach, but you say nothing. The pain is invisible, and that's the point. On the way home, you sit in silence as your mother speaks about Mrs. Alderton's nephew, who is said to be recently returned from India. They say he's earned a commission, a stable man, not yet engaged. You stare out the carriage window. The fog has thickened. Gas lamps are beginning to flicker on. Children still roam the sidewalks. A woman in a shawl coughs violently against a building's side. No one stops. You return home just as dusk descends. You think you'll be allowed to rest, but instead, you are told to prepare for dinner. A more formal dress this time, darker fabric, gloves again, hair retouched. Dinner is not just a meal, it is a performance. You're seated beside a man named Mr. Elgin, a business associate of your father. He's older with graying hair and an eager, slightly sour smile. He asks you about your embroidery, then your piano playing, then your thoughts on moral instruction. Each answer you give is carefully measured, refined but not opinionated, graceful but not too witty. You feel yourself disappear behind the lines you've learned to say. Across the table, your mother nods approvingly. The meal stretches on. Beef, overcooked vegetables, boiled potatoes. You eat slowly, delicately, never asking for more. Dessert arrives, steamed pudding with custard. You taste it without enjoyment. After dinner, the men retreat to the smoking room. You and the other ladies retire to the parlor. More needlework, more smiles. You feel the day collapsing on top of you like the weight of 100 dresses. Finally, you are released. Back in your room, the fire has gone low. Martha appears once more to help you undress. She unlaces the corset slowly. When it comes off, your lungs expand in painful, desperate freedom. You wince as you touch the red marks on your ribs. Martha doesn't comment. She helps you into a nightgown and braids your hair for sleep. Before she leaves, she lights a small lavender candle. "Good night, miss," she says softly. You sit in bed for a long while after she's gone. The room is still. The gaslight outside your window casts faint patterns on the wall. You're no longer cold, just empty. You lie back slowly, hair spread over the pillow. Your arms ache. Your legs feel hollow. You stare at the ceiling, green wallpaper blurred in shadow. This is only the first full day. You wonder how many more you'll survive. You awaken the next morning to the familiar ache of muscles you didn't know you even had. A dull pressure remains where the corset hugged your ribs last night. You lie still for a moment, letting the sensations settle, aching shoulders, soreness in your back, a faint ache in your stomach from a dinner so meticulously restricted you barely remember eating it. The lavender scent of Martha's candle lingers, soft and comforting in the dim room. The green wallpaper still looms in the corner of your eye like a silent witness. Martha arrives at dawn as always. She's calmer than usual, quiet, subdued. She removes your nightgown gently and prepares the basin. The morning ritual: cold water, rose water, cloth dabbed across your skin that reacts with goose flesh. You shiver as she brushes your hair again, now knotted, messy from sleep. "Miss, shall I prepare your gown?" Martha asks. You nod and permit. You stand and allow her to lace your corset. But today, she loosens it more. Halfway through, she pauses. Her gaze lifts to your face, eyes searching. You hold her look, unwavering. She finishes lacing and adjusts your sleeves just so. You swallow pain and breathe into the tight fabric. You dress in a pale lavender morning gown, feather trims at the cuffs, the bodice cinches at your waist. As Martha pins a ribbon at your neck, she hums a soft melody, a lullaby you realize not for you. For herself, it gives you an ache deeper than your ribs. Your mother enters as you finish. She surveys you with appraisal. "Very nice. Are you ready for tea with Mrs. Grantham?" she asks. You nod and your mother replies, "They are expecting you at 10:30. That gives us 15 minutes for carriage." Outside, the carriage awaits. You steady yourself as you climb in. The city hums back to life. Horses, carts, clattering footsteps, voices calling their wares. You realize that every sensory detail here makes you feel more alive and yet more trapped. They say you'll never truly see the city, only observe it through carriage windows and parlors. It begins to feel true. You're a stationary object in motion. At Mrs. Grantham's home. The foyer is lush, spring flowers in vases, light lace drapes over windows, piano in the corner, sweet scent of candied citrus in the air. Mrs. Grantham greets your mother with a crisp kiss on the cheek and nods at you. "Do come along, Miss Harrison," she says. "We'll have tea in the conservatory." Through sliding doors, you enter a glass, roofed space filled with green plants, ferns, and hyacinth blooms. Sunlight filters through the glass, warm for a moment on your cheeks. Chairs are arranged around a small marble top table. A silver tea set glimmers. As Mrs. Grantham pours tea, she asks, "I hear your piano playing is improving, dear." You manage a demure smile. "I practice daily." She nods and asks about values, manners, whether you attend religious instruction, moral reading, etc. You speak softly of eligible suitors, but only neutrally. You don't know what you want, but you do know words are dangerous. You mention a cousin's book recommendation. Approved reading, it earns you polite nods, no eyebrows raised. After tea, they escort you downstairs to a structured demonstration, an embroidery display. You sit before a long mahogany table, pieces of lace and needlework laid out. Mrs. Grantham dabs at a rose petal with a silk cloth, but you don't dare touch. They discuss how your handiwork compares favorably. Compliments circle, so very neat, refined, unfailingly correct. It's a performance, an admission that you have all domestic virtues aligned. You wonder if anything you do will ever be for your own self. The visit ends just shy of noon. You and your mother leave, another carriage, another ride through fog, thickened streets. The gray city feels endless. At home, lunch is already prepared. Dainty sandwiches, cold chicken, soft fruit. You eat without enjoyment. Conversation is sparse. Your father absent, still at the office. Your brother at school. It's just you and your mother. Her face looks softer than usual, exploring new contours of pride and hope. After lunch, you are called to your needlework room. This time, rather than roses, you embroider a scene from a pastoral print, a couple beneath a willow tree. The room is still, warm. The afternoon sun casts latticed shadows. Birds chirp softly outside. You stitch fine details, leaves, folds of clothing on the tiny figures. The work demands precision. Your mind wanders, though. The embroidery is meant to be seen at dinner, used as proof of your domestic perfection. It is a skill cultivated to please others. Yet as you sew, you wonder what domestic means when the home is not yours. Soon enough, the sound of carriage wheels again. It's Edward, come for a visit. Your heart flutters in your throat. Why? You know the answer. Because he's the suitor, the prospect, the one your parents hope will claim you. He steps into the drawing room, a grand space, high ceiling, portrait of his father above the fireplace. He bows. Only Edward can step inside, and your corset seems to draw tighter. He greets your mother, then you. "Miss Harrison," he says, the way he says your title. It sounds like yours alone, poised on the brink. He asks about the embroidery. You show it to him. He traces a finger across the cloth. Too close, the warmth of his hand against your skin. You swallow. He compliments your skill, your posture, your readiness. He stays for tea. Just a short while, they discuss mutual friends, the state of affairs in India, coal prices, banalities. He looks at you when your mother isn't watching. The way he looks, curious, detached, polite, but with something behind it you can't name. When he leaves, he bows again. You hear a pause, then his voice, "I look forward to seeing you again, Miss Harrison." He dips his head once more. You close the door. Behind, you taste your own breath, still faintly flavored of rose water and stale tea. The rest of the afternoon passes in a blur of chores for the servants, quiet moments of fatigue for you. You press needles into fabric again, reviewing the stitches, imagining you could spend life alone behind the needle and never speak again. But dinner arrives soon enough. Tonight is an intimate meal with only the family members. You dress again, cream gown trimmed in lace. Martha braids your hair into gentle waves. At dinner, your father probes your vows. Do you intend to say yes? At emphasizing protocol, he speaks as though your voice is echoing his intention. You reply, "I shall consider it carefully, Papa." Your mother smiles. Your brother watches from across the table, curious. He hasn't spoken in 2 evenings. Now he pipes in softly. Will he treat you kindly, sister? You feel your chest tighten. The sentimental question surprises you. You manage, "I hope so." No one says more. After dinner, the pattern repeats. The men retire, the women return to embroidery. But tonight, by candlelight, you don't want to stitch. Instead, you let your hands rest on your lap. Stitching would mean looking away from Edward's words. You don't want to forget. Later, they send you to bed. As you lie awake, visions swirl. Edward's hand brushing your arm, the clarity of candlelight on mahogany, the thin ribbon of hope and dread weaving inside you. Sleep comes too slowly. You awaken again before dawn to the steady rhythm of your own breath and the cruel absence of freedom. The thin cotton nightgown feels sticky against your skin. Your lungs ache from yesterday's corset. A dull pressure lingers beneath your ribs. You stretch your arms overhead, but the motion is stunted by your self-conscious awareness of everything still sewn into your flesh. Martha enters quietly with a basin of cold water. There's a brightness in her eyes today, a gentle urgency, something unspoken. She brushes your hair softly, fewer strokes than usual, but her hands tremble. Something solemn simmers beneath her calm exterior. You stand as she removes your gown and loosens the corset just enough to breathe. Your body is weak from strained posture and restricted breath. You brace as the corset fits around you again. Her hands adjust your chemise and petticoats softly. Her eyes fly to yours in the mirror. "Miss, it's Thursday, inspection day." She whispers, the word carries weight, inspection. You know too well what that means, reviewing your posture, dress, countenance. The stakes are barely hidden but still sharp. You steel yourself. Your mother enters now, brisk with purpose. She watches the final adjustments to your hair, a gentle knot restrained by pearls. She frowns slightly. "Too soft," she says, replacing a pearl with a darker, more conventional comb. Dressed now in pale cream, trimmed with tiny lace flowers, you look poised but fragile. Your mother nods. "Very well. Let's ensure everything is perfect. It's all for your own future." Downstairs, the hallway bursts with movement. The cook's deep voice ripples from the kitchen. The scullery maid scrubs relentless marble. Footsteps echo. You stand in the center of it all, small and delicate in your formal skirt. A carriage arrives. The inspector is here. Your father stands by the doorway, bowing low. He motions for you. Your heart flutters. The inspector is a middle-aged woman, elegant in dark silk. Her eyes are sharp, not unkind, but piercing. She watches you as you are introduced. "Miss Harrison," she says, "will you demonstrate your deportment?" You nod, smooth your skirts, and proceed. First, a curtsy, knee bent, skirt flared. You hold the pose, count of 4, legs gracefully poised. Then you stand, compose yourself, hands softly clasped. The inspector notes the straightness of your back, the tilt of your chin, the placement of your shoulders. Next, she requests posture transitions, standing forward and back without grimace. Then she asks you to walk across the room, precise, measured, gloved hand resting lightly on skirt. You do it, breath controlled, a small sound of soft cloth brushing the polished floor. You finish. The inspector gestures for your mother. They exchange silent nods, the verdict, acceptable, not outstanding, but fit for society. You feel both relief and shame for being tested for passing only moderately. After she leaves, your mother rarely speaks on the ride back. Her glance is sharp. You suspect she's calculating, evaluating. You do not speak. Lunch is again a display. Bowls of stew, thin soup, cold roast. Nothing that nourishes. Servants hover. You eat as if rehearsing. You keep your gaze forward. You speak only when spoken to. Afterward, you are called to your piano practice, but instead, you find a letter lying on your dressing table, neatly folded, in delicate handwriting, from one who sees you, and signed only with initials. Your heart skips. Could it be Edward? Someone else? The note reads, "You are more than the shape they fit you into. Remember that." You press the paper to your chest. Your pulse races. Who knows you? Who sees? Martha appears then, face shaded. She glances at the letter but says nothing. Her eyes flick to yours. She closes the door quietly behind her. The rest of the afternoon passes in confusion. You sit before the piano, but your hands do not move. Scales echo empty. You pull the letter from under the bench, hold it tightly. When your brother arrives home from school, he finds you with the letter. He eyes it and your pale face. Without word, he steps into the corridor and shuts the door. He emerges with a glass of water, offers it to you silently, nods once, and leaves without speaking about anything at all. Your brother, once a boy who scarcely noticed you, has noticed now. Dinner arrives with uneasy tension. You stiffen as you enter the dining room. Mother's quiet, father's stiff, brother withdrawn. Edward is absent. You assume he's traveling, but you feel relief. You taste nothing. At the end, your father mentions Edward's next arrival tomorrow evening. You nod. Men retire to the study. Women gather in the drawing room. You sit flanked by your mother and other ladies, but your mind drifts to the note, who sent it, and how, after needlework, you awaken again that night when warmness descends. You lie uneasy, heart pounding. Sleep fights to arrive. Martha enters at dawn again. You brush your hair quietly, thinking of the note. Tears gather, but you hold them back. When she offers you the basin, you pause. She meets your glance in mirror. You drop the cloth, they're too cold. You whisper, she nods and turns down the water. She pours warm insteads. All defiance, you catch her eye, thank you. This simple exchange, water warmed, shakes something inside. A small rebellion, a small spark. You wake before dawn once more. Every inch of your body sore from the days past. The corset's pressure lingers, creating a dull ache deep in your chest. You lie still, listening to the quiet of your room. Then muffled creaks from outside, faint rustle of curtains in the morning breeze. Martha's soft footsteps announcing the arrival of another day. Martha enters, her presence gentle. She carries the basin, now your constant companion, filled with cold water. Her expression is solemn, compassionate. She sets the pot down, and you turn to face the looking glass. The reflection staring back is drained. Skin pallid, eyes distant, frame still delicate, but sharper now, stressed. She brings the cloth, unscented this morning, and you dab your face, goosebumps rising from the cold. Then she brushes your hair, fewer strokes, softer touch, like she's helping ease the tension, not enforce it. You look well today, miss, she says quietly. Her voice carries meaning, an unspoken reassurance. After dressing yourself in a pale rose morning dress, ruffled cuffs, a modest bow at the neck, you descend to breakfast. The board is sparse, a thin porridge, dry toast, black tea. Your father reads his newspaper in silence. Your mother assists your brother. You eat mechanically, keeping your eyes downcast. Conversation is limited to the weather. Mid-meal, Edward arrives unannounced. His eyes meet yours briefly before he bows to your parents. He too sits, but only you see the shadow that crosses his features when he glances your way. After solitude-filled morning chores, needlework neat as yesterday, writing practice, polite conversation with your mother, the afternoon stretches heavy and silent until Edward appears again at tea time. He speaks of trivial things at first, his recent business trip, the state of the railway, but in his voice you hear genuine curiosity. Then he asks softly, "Are you comfortable?" The question, so simple and unexpected, stuns you. You recall the weight of your dress, the tightening in your chest, the ache beneath your ribs. You swallow. I'm managing." He nods, frowning with empathy. "Let me know if you need anything." It may be the first time you've been asked, not told. Dinner that evening is graceful and hushed. You dress in creamy silk, trimmed with lace, dressical rigidity once more, but the color softens you. At table, your father praises Edward's character. Your mother beams. Edward glances at you and offers a reassuring smile. Afterwards, he joins you for a short walk through the garden. Cold air stings your cheeks. He stands close, shoes crunching on gravel. "You are more than society's outline," he says. "You deserve to exist beyond it." He presses something into your hand, an elegant small card with your name and an address, simply, for when you wish to speak unfiltered. Your breath catches. He departs into the mist. The carriage arrives moments later. You sit trembling, card hidden in your glove. Tomorrow everything might feel different. That evening, you lie awake, chest tight, mind racing. The envelope burns at your side. Edward's words echo, words meant for you. Alone, they feel monumental. You study the card and slip it into your purse, careful and deliberate. Sleep finally takes you, but when morning light filters through the curtains, you wake with the card heavy in your thoughts. The corset again, Martha's routine, breakfast, all seem performative, ephemeral. The day ahead stretches daunting. You dress in ivory lace, delicate yet suffocating. At breakfast, your mother studies your face. She's pleased with last evening's conversation. Father is quiet. Edward is expected this evening again. In the morning, chores and etiquette lessons press forward. You struggle to focus. Your needlework stutters. Your piano practice feels hollow. Everything is muted as Edward's card pulses in your purse. Lunch brings company, Mrs. Collins and her daughter, and polite chatter, but your mother watches you intently. At one point, she catches your gaze lingering on something beyond the window, memory, hope, and gently admonishes, "Focus, dear." You obey. Afternoon falls. The drawing room glows softly from gaslight. Your mother leads you through conversational training. How to speak of current events not too worldly. How to ask gentle questions. How to laugh with the right pitch. You obey, emotionless. Then Edward arrives early. He's directed to the library, but then requests your presence. You walk to the darkened library, carpet muffled underfoot, heavy drapery hanging. He sits next to you on a velvet settee. Silence sits heavy between you. "I received your card." You whisper, voice trembling. "I hoped you would." He replies. He reaches across and gently takes your hand. Your pulse races. This is different. No audience, no performance, just you two. He leans in closer. Your voice is your own. I want to hear it, behind the etiquette, behind the gowns. Tears sting your eyes. Suddenly, you grasp the card more tightly, energy flaming. You nod. He rises. "Tomorrow, if you choose, meet me at..." He recites the address from the card, a private room in Bloomsbury. After visits, no one will notice. You nod again. The gravity of choice settles in, defiance wrapped in hope. He steps back and bows. "Until tomorrow." Dinner is restrained that evening, but you feel different. You know someone wants you, not a porcelain facade. You wake early, heart pounding at the memory of last night's promise. Your hand finds the velvet card on the nightstand, proof of rebellion, proof of choice. You trace your name printed in elegant script again before tucking it into the folds of your bodice. The corset already presses into your ribs, tight and insistent. You slide from bed, trying to ignore the ache. Martha enters quietly, candle in hand. She pauses when she sees the card peeking from beneath your gown. Her lips tighten, but her eyes hold something, soft solidarity, perhaps. She helps you dress in a morning ensemble more practical than fashionable, a subdued pale blue, something Edward might not recognize in a crowd. The act feels small but significant, a silent message to yourself that you are becoming someone else. At breakfast, your mother praises your posture, noticing nothing. Your father hums over his porridge. You nod and eat mechanically. Savvy alert now, every spoonful reminds you of your absence from your life's steering wheel. The carriage ride to Mrs. Pembroke's hospital is cold and tense. You're not visiting society, you're visiting the unwell, but this is part of the performance. They say visiting the sick shows compassion. You sit with gloves folded, but you aren't thinking of niceties. You're thinking of tonight, Bloomsbury, freedom, whispers of possibility. At Mrs. Pembroke's bedside, your steps are muted. You deliver gentle words, condolences. The room smells of medicine and weak flowers. You notice the crumpled book lying open on the bedside table. Well, worn and read again and again. You register the title, Essays on Women's Education. A spark again. You focus on the patient's hands, frail and pale. You touch her fingers gently. You notice her eyes, dull at first but lighting when she says, "Thank you, dear. It's not often anyone comes." You stay a moment longer, words coming quietly about hope, about future rights for women. It's safe enough, but your voice quivers with something not practiced. After lunch, you are expected to attend music lessons, but your heart isn't in the sitting room. It's in the card and question of what you'll do tonight. You set aside your embroidery, slipping the needle into the cushion, and press both palms to your chest. Your afternoon stretches in slow motion. Edward arrives early. At the planned time, he greets your mother, then eyes you with an encouraging warmth. He motions for you to lead him to the guest room upstairs. As you close the door behind you, every coaching voice in your head, duty, decorum, fear, quietly fights with hope. He gestures to a simple desk. The room is private, small, with a single window. You close the door and step inside. The curtains are pulled aside, drafts flutter them. He offers you tea. You nod, seating yourself, knees brushing against the desk. He stands beside you. "You came," he says softly. You feel the weight of words, coming when you weren't summoned, risking something. "I chose to," you whisper back. He sits across from you and folds his hands. "Tell me what you want, Margaret." That single question loosens something inside you, as though cords have snapped. You swallow, you speak, "I want choice." You say in a voice barely steadier than a sigh. "To choose when I dress, when I speak, whether I stay or leave. I've spent my life in layers of expectation." He nods, "And you shall have it." He pulls papers from his coat pocket and unfolds them. A pamphlet for a women's reading circle in Bloomsbury. It's small, underground, led by other women, real women. If you attend, you'll hear ideas. You'll meet others. You'll be more than decorative. Your pulse races. But my mother, my family, they'll know. He smiles gently. They'll just think you're expanding your education. It's within reason, for a lady. You look at the pamphlet. Your heartbeat echoes in your ears. You nod. Tonight, after dinner, you will go. Afternoon dims into evening. You dress in soft navy, less ornament, more quiet dignity. The corset is less tight tonight, a small assertion, and Martha notices but doesn't breathe it. Dinner with the family is quiet. Edward exchanges glances with you across the table, his support unmistakable. Your mother praises your participation in the visit earlier and hints at pride in your composure. But you meet Edward's eyes and something unspoken passes between you, a promise. When dinner ends, your father and brother withdraw. Your mother stands to help clean. You slide a hand into Edward's and you walk silently with him through the side door. Outside, stars are eclipsed by London glare, but the night air tastes of freedom. soot, damp life, you walk with Edward swiftly through the empty streets, cobblestones glimmering. You're careful, avoid public places. You focus on each step, each breath. This is stepping beyond your life. You arrive at a modest building with a small brass plaque by its door, Women's Reading and Discussion Circle. Edward holds the door open, then hugs your hand again. You're safe here. Inside, the light is soft. A dozen women, students, governesses, gentle. Women sit in a circle, books and pamphlets on their laps. A woman stands to greet you with a smile. She is warm, curious, older, perhaps wiser. Miss Harrison, welcome. You step forward. For the first time, your voice is not a practice tool. It's shy, trembling, but yours. You speak about your reading, the fear you felt, the hope. They listen without judgment. Miles from your parlor life, you find belonging in ideas. Women speak of rights, education, reform, even suffrage. You hear words, power, autonomy, dignity. The spark ignites, the session closes. You walk out into the night holding both the pamphlet and hope. Edward and you walk home together. He stops at your door, kisses your hand gently. Good night, Margaret. Tomorrow begins new. In bed at night, your mind races with possibility. You know this won't be easy, but it feels real. Dawn's first light filters softly through the curtains, but sleep doesn't come easily. Your mind buzzes with the memory of last night, the hushed circle, the bold spark of new ideas, the promise of tomorrow's voice. You rise slowly, feeling changed. Martha enters with a gentle smile. She doesn't ask about your late return. Instead, she helps you dress, a practical yet elegant light gray dress. It's respectful yet meant for movement, not display. The corset is still there, but you ask her to lace it loosely today. She pauses, surprised, then complies. Beneath her careful hands, you sense pride. Quiet, small, your choice, her support. Breakfast is calm. Your mother remarks on your changed posture, more relaxed, more confident. You trace the rim of your teacup and nod politely. Your heart pounds. You think of the reading circle, the words shared there. Freedom means more than a secret meeting. It means living differently, even within these walls. Your father is present today, more talkative. He praises Edward's career and mentions Edward's fondness for reading society news. You nod in agreement, but inside, your mind drifts to your own reading, pamphlets and essays waiting beneath your pillow. You consider sharing, but you catch yourself, not yet. After breakfast, your mother calls you to accompany her for a carriage-bound visit to a charity event, collection for widows of factory workers. You nod, embracing the opportunity. This charity isn't empty display, it's real. Real suffering and fragile hope. Through the carriage window, you watch smoke curling from towering chimneys, soot-laden factory walls. Beneath one chimney stands a girl no older than Martha, selling flowers on the sidewalk. You press a coin into her hand as the carriage moves on. Your mother shoots you a look of included reproach. Do not encourage street trades. You straighten your gloves, but keep your heart. She'll never understand beyond its natural limit. At the charity hall, narrow rows of wooden benches face a raised platform. You see women, wives, some widow, listening to speeches for aid. Your mother stands beside you, composed. When they reach for donations, you go forward and place your coin into a tin. It's more than protocol this time. You feel it resonate. The woman behind you nods gratefully. You allow yourself a whispered thought. This is compassion. Back home, whispers swirl of Edward's arrival this afternoon. You change into a simple tea gown and readjust your corset, this time fully, though less painfully. The corset is part of the performance, but your gaze is different. You tuck the pamphlet in your bodice again, proof that you are two selves at once. Edward arrives at tea and retreats with your mother. You remain in the drawing room, adjusting your embroidery. but Edward lingers, approaching quietly. He hands you a small, gentle note. Tonight, Saturday, 8 p.m. I have arranged a brief carriage ride, just air and talk. No address, no code, just present promise. That evening, you dress in soft blue evening wear. Martha braids your hair elegantly. You place the note in your glove as you exit. A tingling hope stirs. Dinner is brightened by Edward's presence and your mother's subtle pride. You speak, not rote this time, but thoughtfully, on the charity visit, on the plight of factory widows. Your mother raises an eyebrow at your strength. You notice, but Edward is pleased, eyes shining. After dinner, you take Edward's hand and exit through the side gate. Beneath gas-lit alleys you walk free. He has planned a brief carriage tour through carefully chosen, quieter districts. Green space, hidden respite. He opens the carriage door for you. You enter, heart racing. He drives you beneath large elms in a secluded square. There, he turns to you, no expectations. He says, just time, just presence. You breathe deeply, closing your eyes. For one swaddled moment, you are not implementing etiquette or wrapping expectation. You are simply yourself. He smiles. You should keep going to meetings. More, others will be waiting. You nod against his hand. The carriage returns. He helps you from it, bowing low. Good night, Margaret. You offer a small, real smile. That night, in bed, you hold the morning pamphlet and Edward's notes. You whisper to the dark, tomorrow I will speak. The morning light is soft, descending over a new version of you. Someone beginning to stand taller, think differently. Martha hands you a stack of folded pamphlets. You blink. She has collected some from the library for you. Unspoken solidarity. You hold the papers like treasure. Breakfast is more animated than usual. Your mother asks about the charity event again, and you reply thoughtfully, detailing the widow's plight and describing how you felt seeing their strength. Your father listens quietly, surprised. He nods slowly. After breakfast, your mother says you may join the women's reading circle this afternoon. She frames it as your piano instruction, but the recognition in that gesture thrills you. In the carriage heading to Bloomsbury, you clutch the pamphlets. Once more, Edward's words guide you. You step out into the hall of the reading and discussion circle. Familiar faces greet you, warm, expectant. The meeting is larger now. You speak, reading a short passage from Theodore de Beaumont's essay on women's education. Your voice is steady, clear. Women applaud softly. You feel newness blossom. When the session ends, you step outside into sunlight, carrying real confidence. Edward is there, studying you with adoration. He retrieves a carriage. This ride takes you home again, through quieter alleys, through living repair of identity. That evening at home, as you dress, your mother enters quietly. She sets a letter on your dressing table, an invitation from Mrs. Grant them to host a small tea for other ladies. Subtext clear. She acknowledges your intellectual spark. You want to thank her, but words fail. You nod and embrace. At dinner, conversation is richer. Your mother speaks of progressive women's achievements in a measured tone. Father listens. Even your brother glances at you with new respect. Edward lingers near, quiet but supportive. After dessert, you slip from the table. Alone in your room, you take out the pamphlets. You lay them alongside the velvet card and Edward's notes. Then you open the first pamphlet. The words you read now are no longer clandestine. They are stepping stones toward a future. In the mirror, you see more than a framed portrait of duty. You see someone ready. You take a slow breath and face the reflection. This is not an ending. It is the beginning.